So, I just watched the film on Netflix called Vijay 69. Hello there, namaste, and Vijay 69 tries to sell itself as like this motivational film, like you're never too old to do something inspirational. And I gotta be honest, this film feels like it misses the mark. It starts off with Vijay basically jumping off. They try to show it as if he's trying to end his own life. He's jumping off a bridge into a lake, then he takes a diving pose and splashes in the water. Cut to next scene, his family is having an in memoriam for him. Apparently, the very next day, they were able to get a coffin. They were able to create a eulogy. They were able to get his entire friends and family together to give him a send-off. It didn't feel realistic, but it's supposed to be like a small town dynamic, and it's supposed to add humor to it. And the key point of this film was Vijay shows up, gets mad at them for basically trying to bury him when they didn't have proof that he was dead, and tries to give like this comedic story as to, oh, I was doing this, I did this, how can you guys suspect this? Which doesn't feel funny to me, it feels more forced. And the key factor to this film is he reads his best friend's eulogy of him and is upset that his friend knows nothing about him. And then his friend tells him, it's just like, oh, tell me about you. And the only thing he can think of is, I was a bronze medalist. And then starts to get depressed that he had nothing going for him with his life. So he flips the piece of paper over, that was the eulogy, and writes down achievements. Number 1, bronze medalist. And then in my head immediately he put down 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was like, you got married to the love of your life. You sacrificed your Olympic career for her. I knew that within the first few minutes of the film. And I wanted to give up on this film within the first few minutes, I'll be honest. I paused it around 20 minutes and I'm like, this isn't for me. But I pushed through it. And he could have had like married the love of his life as part 2, had a child, has a grandchild. Those are great achievements. But the fact that he couldn't even see it made me dislike his character. I'm gonna be honest, it made me dislike his character, because how could you not see the most important events of your life as non-important? The one thing that he valued more than anything was the gold medal he won. So I found that as a huge issue to make me like this character. And then he goes on and does a search for inspirational things, or things old people have done, you know, to make a name for themselves, achievements they have made. So he tries looking for things, and it's just like he gets inspired to do something like that. And then it turns out that the youngest person, like, this is part of the story, the youngest person in India to attempt a triathlon is 18 years old, and he's from the same village, from the same neighborhood. So he wants to be the oldest man to ever achieve a triathlon medal in India. And that's where the whole thing goes. That's where it all leads to. I was feeling like the best dynamic in this film is the rivalry, the pretend rivalry he has with the 18-year-old. There's a rivalry there, but they're also empowering each other to move them forward. Because in my head, I was like, he's old. Like when I watched the trailer, I was feeling more inspiration watching the trailer than watching this film. Because in the film, a lot of things fall flat. I didn't care for Vijay. I was thinking this was going to be a lesson to, like, you need to stop staring at your phones and go out and do something with your life. I was thinking it was more that route, but it wasn't, because they have an 18-year-old who should be on his phone all the time going that route. Of course, he's more, it's very weird, because you kind of feel sorry for the 18-year-old whose father is forcing him into this. And it's just, you don't really care for most of these characters. I only liked the dynamic for as long as it really lasted, because they both end up getting injured in the mid mini triathlon to prove that they can qualify. The 18-year-old breaks his arm or sprains his wrist or something, and the old man falls down. Vijay falls down and hurts his back. So they're both in recovery, and they kind of build a bond there. And that was kind of like the best part, because you find out that the kid's father is a complete douchebag. He's a terrible human being who isn't really even a father. He views his child's success as his own, and that's not a parent. Parents don't view their own success through the awards and achievements and praise that their own children can bring them. No, you should be proud of your child for what they do for themselves. You should be happy that they do what they want to do. You don't yell at them and hit them just because they're not doing what you expect, just because they eat a piece of chocolate. So yeah, you end up feeling for the kid. and hating everyone in the freaking movie. But yeah, that is really the heart of this movie. It takes like 40 minutes to get to that point, and then you have like a bit where they're motivating each other, pushing each other, and then it gets to this weird rivalry thing, trying to sell it as like a boxing match, which felt very weird for me. Because, okay, this is a 69-year-old who's supposed to understand how social media is supposed to assist him. I don't even understand how hashtags work, and I'm not even that old. And of course, I've never cared to learn. I mean, you can tell by the state of my YouTube channel, I don't really know how hashtags work. I should probably learn that stuff, but I don't care enough because I like to get out and learn and experience and, live my life. I don't want to spend my time stuck on a phone, even though that's kind of the career I want to do for a living. So it's kind of hypocritical. I know. Yeah, sue me. But I found that kind of strange because it's like you're supposed to make this as a motivational film, which no one can really relate to, because I was thinking, I want to see this film where this old man, basically everyone kind of stops, because that's what I was thinking where it was going to go in the end. Because there's this weird thing where the kid's father basically kicks Vijay out of the triathlon. It takes forever to get there because it's a running gag throughout the film where they're going back and forth with the triathlon committee. And I didn't care for it. It felt very forced, the whole dynamic. But when it was finally getting to the end, I was thinking it was going to be all these people were inspired by this 69-year-old fighting the system to try and compete, that the majority of the competitors, when the gun went off and they were all supposed to go, wouldn't move. Kind of like the thing that they did in the movie Rudy, where everyone turned in their jerseys, basically saying, for Rudy, for Rudy, for Rudy. I don't like that film, but that was even more impactful than this film here. This film, the only thing that was supposed to be impactful was the song, was the fact that his wife felt upset, I guess, that she had made him forfeit his dream because she was diagnosed with cancer. He was about to win the gold medal. He had the biggest shot he ever had, and gave up on being a gold medalist to take care of his wife, to raise his kids. Which, again, is a massive goal. He proved that being a father was more important than being a bronze medalist, being a gold medalist. If he would have just thought that when he was writing his list, there would have been no film. So that's the thing, is like, it's like you can't say that he did this because it was an important part of his life and it really mattered to him, when he can't even view it as something important in his life that matters to him. But yeah, I didn't care for the character Vijay. But yeah, the ending feels forced. It turns out that the lady who's like the nurse of Vijay lives in the same complex, I guess, as Vijay, and takes care of him, kind of. I don't really know what their relationship was. She seemed kind of weird and overly friendly, but it turns out she knows like the politician who's over of the entire triathlon department in India, I guess, and was able to convince him to supersede the rules to put Vijay back in the triathlon thing. And it's like, he had 4 months to train. That's not enough time to train for a triathlon. It is not. Most people, just like with what's it called? The Olympics, they spend years of their lives in training, from when they're in high school. Even in some of those Olympics gold medalists start training from when they're in middle school, before they're even teenagers. But yeah, I mean, this film was not worth watching. I regret seeing it, I will be honest. It was an absolute bore throughout. The only dynamic I liked for a short period of time was the dynamic between the 18-year-old and the 69-year-old. Their kind of rivalry, their kind of understanding each other's situations. Vijay is being laughed at by everyone he knows, but wants to compete. And here the 18-year-old doesn't want to compete, but is being forced to by his father, by his grandfather, because his father will not see value in his son unless his son does what he wants him to do. I mean, yeah, that right there was the closest thing they had to a story, because everything else was forced. This is like the concept of a short film that was dragged out. The pacing was off. The relationships to the characters felt flat, and just a lot of things just didn't seem to work out. Probably wasn't meant for me. It probably wasn't meant for me, but then again, I honestly don't know who it was meant for. I crossed that threshold, especially with the way I am with social media, that I fall under the elderly category. So I don't believe this is for elderly folks. and I don't believe this is inspirational for young kids either. So I don't think this is an inspirational film. It's just a film. That's all I can say. That's the best review I can give this. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles.